ways. One, if the customer doesn't know you exist, how can they buy from you? So it's
Hello, everybody. Welcome back on a Monday. We are excited, both Aaron and I. We had a little bit of last week. We weren't able to be on, so we're excited to come back this week. We got a bunch of information to share with you, and obviously we're always there and down to answer any questions in the comments. So with that, I'm going to welcome Ronnie in. Thanks for being here, Ronnie.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a hot one, I'm sure. We had a couple cool days, but now we got the summer's back. So I hope everybody's staying cool out there.
I mean, it definitely, it started, at least at the Ohio office, it started to feel almost fall-like for a handful of days. And then it was like, man, is it really getting this cold this soon? And then all of a sudden it just, it took off, and it's been warm the last couple days. So, but anyway, I know that, like I said, I know that we, that we're always down to talk about different things that are going on in the industry, different things that are going on in marketing. But I know we also want to answer questions that have come in. So I know that there's some different things that you have that you want to make sure we get to. And anytime somebody leaves us a question, I always want to make sure that we answer it. So with that, I'll kind of let you kind of kick it off, and we'll kind of go from there.
So obviously everybody that's hopefully tuning in is trying to fine tune their marketing strategy. And so one of the things that I wanted to at least ask you that we can kind of discuss, what are the biggest marketing mistakes that you see going on, and how can we fix those or find different ways, kind of different strategies to attack those?
Sure. I'll make this two. There's two things I would say. One thing we've talked about ad nauseum, so I won't dive too far down that rabbit trail, but sleeping on Google business pages is a huge mistake. A lot of people do a really good job on Facebook, really good job on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and don't pay any attention to their Google business page other than setting it up properly, and then they never think about it again. Google business pages, with how the where Google is placing the results that are driven by your Google business pages, are as important as your website, I would say. I used to say almost as important. I would say today, as important as your website. I just got off the phone with a client not long before we jumped on this call, and we were doing some searches over some keywords and key phrases, and on every single one of them, the map pack showed up first, and the results in the map pack were the very first thing you saw, and then the organic results driven by the website were beneath that. So, I mean, this is literally something that is arguably potentially even more important than your website based on where it comes up in the search results. So sleeping on your Google business page is one of the things I would say. The second thing I would say is I'll classify it as building your castle on somebody else's real estate. And what I mean by that is I've seen so many times in the industry where we talk to a client, they want to come on board to work with iMagnet, do things like that, and we find out they've been working with somebody else for 4 or 5 years. Maybe they're not getting the results they want, whatever the case may be. But we find out that they were given a package. It was like, it's this much a month, and we'll build a website for you. We'll build landing pages. We'll do all this stuff for you. Sounds great. Sounds within their budget. Sounds all these different things. The problem is you don't own anything. You're actually building your castle on somebody else's real estate. So if you ever decide, hey, that marketing company is not delivering the results I'd hoped for or whatever, you don't own, typically in most cases, you don't own that website. Or if they built you a landing page on this broader website and they're driving leads to you via landing pages, if you ever decide not to move on from that relationship, you don't own anything. And worse yet, unless it's in the fine print to protect you, which it typically might not be, they could literally take that landing page, change the branding on it, and take it, shop it to one of your competitors in your same town, and turn on that marketing campaign that you've spent years paying for, and they could turn it on for a competitor. So my big advice to everybody, you don't have to work with us. You can work with anybody you want, but your website, things like that, your Google AdWords campaign, make sure the things that you're spending money on are built on your real estate assets that you own. So if you decide to change direction, you don't lose your website. I was just talking to somebody the other day that had been working with a company for years. I mean, multiple years, and they want to go a different direction. And when they do, they're literally walking away like with empty hands. They don't own anything that they've paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for over the years, and they don't own a thing. They don't own their website. They don't own anything. They don't even own their domain name. That was even registered by the company that was their marketing company. So they own nothing. They literally are starting again from scratch after spending potentially in the neighborhood of $20,000 over the last couple of years doing marketing, and they don't own anything. So that is a big mistake I see being made as well.
No, those are, I think, two really important ones. Mine's much more specific as far as social media goes. I think one of the things that I always notice, since I'm nitpicking everybody else's stuff, is definitely how you start videos and doing different things. If you don't edit your video start points and stuff, if you're trying to put a bunch of effort into making reels or TikToks, and you sit there and you're okay, and you wait 5 or 6 seconds to finally like start speaking because you're trying to make sure everything's set up, like you're losing people right off the bat. People are going to swipe by you and not pay attention. And the other one that I was going to mention that I think is super important for anybody who's doing any type of marketing strategy is defining your personal brand and your business brand. It's something I mentioned the last time we were on, and it's, you can get too distracted by trying to cover too many bases. If you think that you need to do A, B, C, D, E, and F, like you're not focused on the customers that you might be getting from A and B that you should be focusing on and trying to hit those specific target market. I think that's something that defining that target market and then using your brand strategy to use your content towards those people versus trying to scatter everything. I mentioned last time I was doing F1 stuff, and it's like anybody that's following my marketing page, they shouldn't be caring about Formula One or as much as I don't want to, like my kids stuff, like that should all be on my personal brand, and versus if I'm putting anything marketing related, making sure that I'm putting that on my business brand and focusing on those key items.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And another thing you touched on there as well is, I think a lot of people try to do too many things. And I think we touched on this even a couple weeks ago, where they end up doing a bunch of different things in a mediocre way instead of doing a couple things really well. And you're really defining, like, if you're a business that your core demographic is, 45 to 65 years old, it may not, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the TikTok platform, but it may not be the platform. Like your demo might not be hanging out there.
Yep.
Likewise, if you're trying to hit a younger demo, let's say 15 to 25, spending a lot of time on Facebook is probably not hitting your demo. Because
or
15
LinkedIn.
to 25-year-olds are not hanging out on Facebook.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Knowing where those people that you're trying to hit, like if you're, like you said, if you're looking for young people, obviously like LinkedIn, some of the Facebook stuff might not work. But if you're looking for business professionals, then maybe you're going to have an older demographic, just like you said, that's going to be on. So understanding which platforms are going to be the best place to hit that target market. And that's something I'll probably ring the bell on a few times, just because understanding who you're marketing to should be one of the first key things that you should be defining as you start a business, is knowing, okay, what product or service do I have, and who are the best people that I'm going to be giving this product to or service that would make the most sense, that would benefit them the most.
And I mean, and here's the thing, that can change over time too. As your business matures, as your business changes, as you pivot, who that demo is. I think a lot of people also get, they get a certain formula that's worked for them, and they fall in love with this formula that has worked for them in the past. And then they just continue to rinse, repeat. But the problem is their business has actually pivoted. Their business has changed, but they're continuing to do the same things that they've always done. even though their business is actually different now than it was when they were doing those things. So again, if somebody goes from, let's just talk about, we have a lot of clients, obviously, in the window film industry. If they go from primarily being the guy that was like the car customization shop that did a lot of window tint, and now they want to pivot into doing more residential commercial, that's a completely different audience base. And not only is it potentially a different audience base when you're trying to target, even the type of content you would generate, you want to call it the language, the voice you would use in that type of content is going to be different because you're trying to reach business owners, property owners, homeowners versus maybe a 25 something that wants to get their car tinted. So you really need to start every marketing exercise with, who am I trying to reach? And then that's going to define for you, what kind of content you're going to create and where you're going to put that content.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I watched, I think, something on one of the socials today. A guy was describing, like, and it goes with if you don't want to evolve, then what are you doing? And he was describing as somebody that said, I don't want to grow. I just want to keep doing the same thing that I'm doing and stick with that. But you have to realize your customers are going to evolve. They're going to be expecting more things. Your employees are going to be expecting you to kind of grow with them so that they have an opportunity to grow. So if you sit there and think, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do and I'll be fine, you're going to lose probably some of your best customers because they're going to be expecting more as time goes on. So just make sure that you're evolving at your own pace. Obviously, don't, like we said, don't try to do too many things. You need to go at a steady pace, but understand that you need to continue to evolve, learn new skills, learn new techniques, and trying different tools that you might come across. Because that's what's going to help you grow. That's what's going to help retain your customers and your employees.
Well, there is no, I've learned one thing in business over, however many years I've been doing this, 30 years, there is no such thing as status quo. You are either growing or you're falling back. Now, you may be growing or falling back at a slow rate to where you don't realize it, but there is no cruise control. There is no status quo. If you think that you've shifted it into, okay, I'm kind of fine, I'm just going to keep it right here. The problem is you without you maybe even perceiving it, you're starting to fall back, and you're starting to, even if it's just that you're not paying attention to what the new things are. It's like I liken it to a train that's leaving the station, and as it's picking up speed, you could still probably grab a handle and jump onto that car. But if you wait till it's 2 miles down the track and it's doing 20 miles an hour, you've missed your opportunity to jump on that train. So it's like, even if you're kind of like thinking, I'm not really trying to grow, I'm very busy already, you still need to be conscious of what else is going on so that you're adjusting your strategies and adjusting your business as time goes by. Or you're going to wake up one day and realize that train is going by at 50 miles an hour, and now there's no chance for you to jump on board because you missed it.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of 50 miles an hour, we're going to speed ahead to the future with this question.
By the way, I want to give a shout out, Tim, Eric. And by the way, Tim, I appreciate you're always here, Tim. Eric, you always drop in. Tim, if you've got a question, throw it in there, man. I definitely want to make sure we bring value to you because you're always here in the comments.
No, definitely. Thank you for watching, everybody that's viewing us. So my next question was along the lines of future technologies. I know within the next year, Apple has their new AR headset that's coming out. VR is already out. It's kind of hit or miss, I think, with a lot of people. Obviously, if you're not into AI, I'm sure you're not into VR. But one of the things I wanted to ask is how can you use augmented reality and virtual reality in a way for marketing? So I'll tip it up as far as like virtual tours and different things like that. How can those things be done?
I mean,
or utilized, I should say, not done. I don't think I expect you to know that.
No, I mean, it's tough from a standpoint of like really defining, because AR and VR have really went through a season where even a number of years ago, it seemed like we were a lot closer to that being a real thing. Like everybody was really, and then through COVID, some companies tried to really utilize AR and VR to like, I think even big companies like Facebook and people like that are still trying to figure out how this exactly works. I do feel like there's an opportunity to utilize it for doing, like you said, like demos or walkthroughs or things like that. But I feel like right now, the thing that's sort of overshadowed AR and VR is AI and how that's changing everything. I think companies are have shifted their resources because I think AR and VR is definitely coming, but it may be a little bit further out on the horizon than we maybe thought a couple years ago. But AI is here. Like AI is changing the landscape today. So I think a lot of the attention, and I feel like I maybe am dodging the question, but I feel like I don't really know where AR and VR are going to go because I feel like everybody's sort of been like, there's sort of been a little bit of a pause button pushed on that. And now people are all focusing on AI. And I think AR and VR are going to be there, but I think it's a little bit further out on the horizon than right now. And I don't know how it's going to change. If a company were to come to me and have really be concerned about AR and VR, but not be focused on AI, I would be like, you're looking in the wrong, like you need to get on this. This is happening now. That's going to happen a little bit in the future.
Absolutely. I think this is much more of a niche communities for different products and services. Obviously, right now, like you said, I think VR has definitely kind of been not so much halted, but it's definitely slowed down. The hype has definitely kind of simmered down a little bit. And like I have my headset over there and I probably haven't put it on for 2 or 3 months just because I would play games with it. It's not something that I'm expecting to go in and to shop or do anything like that. I do have an engineer friend who says they kind of work community wise across the country to kind of go in and look at different parts and see how those things work as far as hydraulics or different things where they're trying to manipulate different types of systems. And I think it's a good way to have a collaboration and to try to figure things out, not so much on the marketing side right now. There's some other people too that are kind of, one of the things I was thinking about doing was, I forget which place it was, but you can kind of set up essentially a VR brick and mortar shop. But it's like if you were to sell T-shirts or different things like that, so people could kind of go in and see them. And then I don't know if you would actually be able to buy them in the physical T-shirt while you're going in and looking at them in VR, which is how different than going on Amazon or something and looking at a T-shirt on there. So
I don't think that anybody's brought a compelling, like, to your point, I don't think anybody's brought a compelling case to the fore that's like makes it better than what's already out there that already exists. Until that happens, so people are like, whoa, this is, if you think about even AI, nobody was talking about AI until about December of this last year when people realized how good Chat GPT was. And all of a sudden, AI sort of took off. I think the same thing's going to happen with AR and VR until something comes out to where somebody's like, whoa, this is better than what was here yesterday. I don't think it's ever going to really catch traction. And that's the big thing. Like, I think the reason AI took off is because people started to see practical ways they could use it that was better than what they currently had. And I just don't feel like we're there yet for AR and VR.
No, for sure. I think, at least for me personally, I think that AR is going to kill VR because essentially if you can put on glasses and you can have an experience or something that's within the real world, you're not like disappearing into putting on a headset and not being able to know what's going on. But if I put on some glasses that give me an AR experience and I can kind of, I don't know if you were in the one when we saw, I forgot his name, but the Kaizen project. And as far as Tom Bailu and his experience and stuff, like those things seem like something that could be plausible and that people would enjoy, but it's not something that you're going to be using as far as a marketing experience unless like you're going to show people vinyl wraps and how their car, you can pick your car, but it's like we have those type of virtual tours now. So I don't think that there's going to be anything that's going, like you said, it's going to be way better than something that's already existing. So
I think what would be cool is like, I think where you might see it being implemented early, which wouldn't surprise me, is in the form of like an artist. Like you're seeing like, I can't remember the name of the place in Vegas that they just built. That's like a custom built, like fully immersed concert arena that you choose to. Yeah.
I don't know the name of it.
that U2 is doing concerts at. And it's like, I could see a situation where you would augment an actual performance with augmented reality glasses to the point where you'd be like, holy smokes, this is better than just seeing the concert, or this is better than just seeing the performance, because it's the performance and then there's all this other stuff going on as well. I think, you know, that sphere thing is going to be pretty interesting because it's supposed to be a fully immersive concert experience. So I don't know what all that means, but I feel like it's going to be more than just watching four guys on a stage playing instruments.
Yeah, I've done the NBA and different concerts in VR, and it's not that great. I think if it was something where I could go sit in the backyard and I have like a stage that all of a sudden appears with realistic people I can kind of walk up and see, that might be something that I think people would be interested in. But until then, and granted, I don't know if that's 2-3 years down the road. It's just a matter of how easily this function is going to be.
I see Tim actually asked a question here. I'm trying to see it. I use AI all the time. My website builder is now bringing that to us. Looks really useful, but monthly charge to have it after trial. Guess my question would be, I buy that if I don't really use it after a site is set up, so maybe use it and then cancel it. I'd have to understand exactly how they're integrating AI into your website to be able to answer that question. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with AI that are super useful. In fact, I'm speaking next month at Window Film at WFCT in Virginia Beach, and I have a whole section of my talk that's talking about AI, but breaking it down into practical tools that people can use to benefit their business. I don't really know, based on what you're typing there, like what your website builder is using AI for. There's a lot of different things they can use it for, but I'd want to understand what the case is, and then, like, if it's set up, and then what, you know, if you're paying a monthly charge, what you're paying a monthly charge for. You know, I would just want to understand that a little bit more. You know, again, Tim, it's probably like a plug-in or something like that they're using, and I just would want to understand what they're actually doing, and if there's ongoing work that's done, or if it's primarily setting it up and then just letting it run. I'd want to understand that a little bit.
Well, if he posts, we'll come back to it. And this is a very broad question, and there's lots of different things. Obviously, we've hit on AI, but over the last 3 years since COVID, what have you noticed that's been some of the major changes within marketing? Whether it's whatever it might be, I'll let you go ahead.
I think that as somebody that does targeting of, you know, specific audiences for clients, things like that, I feel like the platforms, whether legally or voluntarily, have made it harder to target people, to target specific people. I'll give you a good example. Just recently, Facebook made a change that you used to be able to target people based on a geographic area and just target people that live in that geographic area. You know, now they took that away, and now you have to target people that live in that area or have recently been in that area. Well, that really takes away, because let's say that you own a shop that's right on, you know, right next to a freeway exit, and you reach people within 10 miles of the shop. Well, the reality is, now if there's a freeway running through that area, you're now targeting everybody that's driving on the freeway too, that may not even be in your geographic area that you're wanting to target. But the way Facebook changed it, for whatever reason, you can't just target people that live in that area anymore. They've also taken away interest targeting, some of the interest targeting after Cambridge Analytica and COVID and things like that. It seems like they're always removing a way to target audiences. So I feel like from a marketer standpoint, it's become a little bit, you have to be a little bit more savvy to figure out how to target the people you're trying to target. I feel like from a consumer standpoint or a business owner standpoint, you have to understand that people are being bombarded these days more than ever before with all forms of advertising. So you have to bring something of value to the table, or not only doesn't your advertising work, it could actually become irritating and become actually something that like actually puts people off. So I feel like, and then I think the other thing that's changed is just the way people consume content. I mean, I can tell you, I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I do sit down to watch TV these days, I have a smart TV. I predominantly flip over to the YouTube thing and I find YouTube videos that I want to watch, and I watch YouTube videos. So instead of ABC, NBC, Fox, and those people selling a commercial that's reaching me, it's actually people are reaching me via Google ad, because I'm watching 95% of the time. If I'm watching TV, I'm watching a YouTube video. I'm not watching network TV. So that wasn't the case pre-COVID. I think that COVID created a situation where people changed the way they consumed content. The platforms changed the way they allowed you to target. So I think it's harder now to. It used to be if you were on social media and you just threw some money at something, more than likely it worked as much as it didn't work. Now you've really got to be savvy how you're doing it, or you could be wasting a lot of money.
No, yeah, I agree. We got a couple things coming in. Seems like there's creation of blogs and stuff like that. I'll just finish up with what you were saying too. At least for me, I think one of the things, having been years in retail, standing in an Eddie Bauer, or like trying to offer people in the stores, I think just the ability to reach people kind of was obviously fast forward, that you could actually be in somebody's home without having them walk into your store.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole reason I started my Talking Film podcast back in the day, was because I wanted to get out the information to people into their home versus like whoever the sales guys were going out to try to go into different shops. It was that connection from customer to business all of a sudden shrunk. Like people were just sitting at home, and it was like, how can you, and then obviously, like you said before, like, how do you put that content out, and how creative is it? How engaging are you able to pull somebody in to kind of, like we talked about before, where they kind of sit the thumb time? Are they going to stay on and actually watch what you're doing? So there's a lot of different things that kind of got spun forward and forced a lot of people. And obviously with AI now, it makes things more efficient, but yet in that efficiency, you have to be much more specific in how you're doing everything, and much more detail oriented. So it makes it kind of trickier.
So Tim, I think, did a follow-up here. So I think, again, Tim, we can talk offline if you want to reach out to me. AI can be used on the back of your website for a lot of things, and it sounds like they're using it for different things. I would be careful. Just was talking to Ronnie right before we went online about AI, what's called AI hallucinations. And if you want to look that up, you can. AI, now that's been running longer, sometimes it will make up things that are not true. It'll just come up with something that is based on a whole bunch of things flowing through how AI works, and it'll come up with something that isn't true, and it'll put it out there as if it's true. And you really got to make sure that you're reading what AI is doing, because these hallucinations are things that like are not based on fact. You like to think that if AI pumps it out that it's going to be true, but a lot of times it's just compiling a lot of different things to give you the answer or spell it out, but sometimes it makes a mistake. So I think there's definitely use applications for AI. I don't know that I would let it run completely on automatic, like on my website for certain things. I certainly wouldn't allow it to write blogs for me and just copy and paste and things like that, because it could actually put something out there that's completely erroneous.
Yeah. We're at the half-hour mark. I did have one. I realized I skipped over one of the questions. If you want me to give you one of those.
Sure. Let's, we got a little bit of time.
Okay. So one of the questions was, how can I create stories in my content strategy if I'm not a good storyteller? So essentially, if you can kind of piece together different posts that kind of all continue to tell a story, which might be tricky if you're just an auto guy. How do you explain how to?
Wait, are you talking about? Are you talking about stories like overarching, like
yes,
telling
overarching
stories, or
stories.
stories like Facebook stories or Instagram stories?
Overarching stories. So I know one of the clients we had, he kind of put together a video of the customer experience when they come into their shop. So that was one way I was like, oh, okay, that's a unique way to kind of describe what's going on in a story-esque fashion, not so much as the little circles on Instagram and Facebook. But if you're not a good storyteller, how can you create content that's in a story mode?
I mean, I think a lot of people watching this, if they're running a business or they're a key employee at a business and interacting with customers, they're probably better storytellers than they think. First of all, if they're interacting with customers, because they're probably, anytime you interact with a customer and you're answering questions or leading them down the sales process, you're in essence telling them a story. I think where people freeze up is when they think about, okay, I'm going to turn on the camera, and they overcomplicate it. A lot of times I think if people just look, you probably have customers who walk in your shop every day that ask the same 5 questions. You answer it 100 times a week. So why not turn on a video and walk somebody through answering that question that you answered for 99 other customers? It becomes, it's obviously something where it's an interesting thing because you get asked the question a lot and you are telling a story. Every time you answer that question to a customer, you are telling a story. Hopefully it's a truthful one. Hopefully you're not making something up, but you are telling a story. The question is just taking that from a face-to-face interaction and taking it to digital, because then that one story can reach hundreds, if not thousands of people versus a one-to-one. You obviously can tell a story one-to-one, or else you probably wouldn't be a successful business person because you've learned how to tell a story face-to-face because you've done that in every customer interaction. So all digital marketing storytelling is doing is amplifying that to where you could tell it to more people at one time. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to make a situation where now that the camera's on, everything changes. Just think about what you do day in and day out, questions you answer day in and day out, conversations you have day in and day out, and bring that to digital. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's a problem that you solve for the customer, that's a great story, like you said. And especially if it's one that you've done over and over, you're an expert in your field. And so that's something that if somebody that doesn't know is coming to you, that's easily a problem that you can solve. Hopefully you can explain it. If you need to write it down and do everything beforehand, obviously, but like you said, simplify everything that you can kind of put into an answer. And like you said, if you've done it a bunch of times, 20 times a day, it should be natural where you can just flip it on and be like, hey, so I hear you have this problem. Like, pretend you're talking to a customer that just came in and you're going to look at the camera and be like, okay, this is the problem I'm going to solve for you. And then obviously, like I said, if you probably have a few of those different situations of people coming in that, hey, I've got A, B, C, D, like Monday, do this. And then Thursday, work on one when you're sitting around with time to kill.
The ideal time.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I was going to say, if you, I think I was going to follow up and say, if you have time to kill, an easy way to eliminate that time to kill is hopefully having a customer come in by answering one of their questions, and that way you can get more customers.
The other thing you could do too is if you have behind your counter, at your desk, whatever, a notebook, when somebody asks you a question, as you're thinking about what we're talking about, jot a note down, because those are the things that are going to become the stories. You know, to use, again, a lot of people we work with are in the window film industry. You know, if you're doing that for homes, and like say people are talking to you because they have a faded piece of furniture or whatever, and the story you're going to go down is by saying, hey, you know, the when they did the windows, they told me they're triple pane or they got low E. I didn't think I was going to have a fading problem. And you're going to proceed to tell the customer how there's multiple elements of fading and nothing can stop it completely other than putting the item in a dark, you know, humidity controlled room. You're not going to stop it. But what you could do is chip away at the main building blocks of what causes fading to try to reduce it significantly. that's a story somebody that's in the residential field probably has down, like they could say it in their sleep. But the problem is the person that has that question or has that faded furniture, we assume, like, because we've talked about it so much, that that's like common knowledge or something like that. So why not basically show a piece of faded furniture, turn the video on and be like, and tell that story. Tell why low E window isn't going to stop fading. Tell them, be honest with them. Tell them why even window tinting put on window isn't going to stop fading. If you've got a wall of glass that's getting a huge southern sun for 8 hours of the day, and you put the furniture right in front of that, depending on the type of furniture and the quality of the furniture, you're going to have fading. Now, window film could significantly slow that fading down, but it's not going to stop it. So if you could tell that story in a cohesive way, now all of a sudden that becomes, you're something, you're telling a story, but you're not like, I think a lot of times people just get, they freeze up thinking that it's got to be something much more than what they do every day. And the reality is storytelling is just telling people what you do every single day.
No, agreed. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you can get from point A to point B, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get with a camera in your face. And obviously, I know for both of us, it's one of those things. When we first started, I'm sure it wasn't that great. And as we've gotten better, not saying that this is spectacular, but you get more comfortable.
We should cut in sometime and show a snippet of some of those videos I shot 13 years ago. They're pretty comical. I mean, and again, I don't have a problem. I tend to be somebody that has an easy time talking to people, and and don't have a problem raising a family of Italians, so I don't have a problem talking. And there is something different when a camera turns on, that even if you're somebody that's got a good personality, sometimes I think you feel like, oh, that wasn't the way, I need to redo it, and that becomes a headache. And then you don't want to do it, because every time you do it, you do 50 takes, and then you're like, forget it, man, I hate doing this. So I think if you get comfortable with just recording it and allowing, like, if there's a mistake or whatever, talk the same way we're talking right now to each other and let it go. Because I think the people get frustrated. They think they got to produce this perfect, hey, Rob, I see your comments, buddy. So, no, I think people feel like that once you turn a video camera on, it's got to be this perfect piece of content. It's got to be like perfectly produced. And that's what freezes them up. And then they end up not wanting to produce it because they feel like they can't produce perfect pieces of content, and nothing can be further than the truth, Yeah,
no, definitely. Nothing is going to be perfect. There's not going to ever be a perfect piece of content, regardless of, even if the ones that you see out there, there's always going to be something that you could do better. And that's okay. As long as you can, it's harder to get to the mode where, like, okay, I got to stare at myself and edit this video and like, oh, I can't believe I said that. So you do have to get over a few things and just kind of be like, I'm going to get better as the more I do. And hopefully this is something that will hit somebody. They'll get some sort of piece of information or education out of this content or entertainment. And then you move on.
And quite honestly, if it makes people feel a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more at ease, I actually feel like perfect pieces of content, if they exist, actually are a little off-putting to the people watching them, because it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic. I mean, it's like if you go into a store and their salesperson's got their pitch down perfectly, and they hit you with this pitch that is so slick, not a mistake is made. There's not an there's not an and. It's like you immediately like draw back, like, I got to like put my guard up. This seems like it's a little bit too slick. It's a little bit too polished. The same thing applies to your videos. If you could produce a perfect video, I don't know that I would advise you to do it, because I think it would come off as not authentic.
Yeah, no, and we can wrap it up at this point. But one of the things that I've always kind of come across, and the only way that you're going to have an engaging piece of content that's out there, chances are you're going to upset somebody. And that's just kind of what goes along with it. The only way that you're going to have people commenting and making things is one, having a typo or a mistake in the subtitles, or like making a mistake is something that's going to create engagement with people. Like, oh no, I don't believe that this is right. Or it's like you see the top 5 NBA players, like somebody's going to disagree with that. So then there's more commenting and posting. And then obviously that gets in front of everybody. So understanding that a good piece of content is something that's not everyone is going to agree with or actually like, because even if they dislike it, they're engaging with your content and then more people are going to see it. So having that mindset of like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I just want to share what I have to share and put it out there. And then people can do with it what they like. And it's just a matter of putting out that content, which obviously is sometimes the biggest hurdle for most people.
Yep, I agree. And by the way, Rob commented MJ is the GOAT. I'm going to go on record here to say on the podcast, here's the deal. I'm a Cleveland Cavalier. I'm a Cleveland sports fan through and through. Browns, Cavs, Indians. I'm not going to call them the Guardians, the Indians. And so obviously I grew up watching Cavs teams that were pretty good end up never making it to the finals because of Michael Jordan's teams and the Bulls. So I'll go start right off. And then also as a Cleveland fan, you probably assume that I have a soft spot for LeBron, even though he left us and came back and left again. He did win a championship here. I've actually physically been in the arena. I've watched both men play. I've watched MJ play in his prime. I've watched LeBron play in his prime. I dislike Michael Jordan. I dislike the fact that he beat my Cavs teams. Michael Jordan is a better player than LeBron. I said what I said. You can argue with me. You can put it in the comments, whatever. I don't even like Michael Jordan. He is a better player than LeBron James. That's my take.
We're going to get comments. No, I grew up in the 90s, so Jordan's the guy. I'd say Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, like very closely packed together.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, if you want to put in the comments who you think the best basketball player is, Tim, let's go Detroit. Hey, here's the thing, to weave Detroit into the equation, LeBron has never had to play against a team that was literally physically destroying him the way Detroit used to destroy Jordan. Detroit used to, it would be a crime today. It would be like, physical assault. What Detroit used to do to LeBron. So we're way off of marketing.
That happens.
But clearly, like I said, if you want to comment who you think the GOAT is down below, my take is it's Jordan. So I
haven't ever been put on the spot, so I'll say Jordan as well, as much as I enjoy watching everybody else play LeBron and Kobe. But Jordan was different echelon in those 90s teams.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So with that, we went well over, but hopefully you guys found it entertaining. And most of all, hopefully you found it informative. We're going to continue to come back every week, bring you some new information. Our intent is to come to you every Monday to do this, but sometimes, just life gets in the way. So sometimes like last week, they might be postponed, but the goal is to come to you every Monday in the afternoon. We feel like this time slot is kind of a good one. So, hopefully you guys enjoy that. But if you have any questions, as always, you can reach out to me or Ronnie, and we'd be happy to integrate them into a future show. So
absolutely. Make sure to go follow all of our channels. iMagnet on Instagram, TikTok. We'll see if we have any content on there. But Facebook, make sure if you guys have questions throughout the week, you can put it onto this video. We'll see it. And then we'll also be putting up a bunch of different segments and stuff throughout the week. So,
and thanks everybody for watching. Maverick, Rob, Marco, Tim, everybody that's in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Take care, everybody.
See you guys next time.